Like, I mean, we're talking, I mean, I have these right here just because I'm sitting into my
That's
brain,
awesome.
but, you know, as far as like the colors go, they're like, it
Yeah.
has to be the specific color. So we have to make sure we can spec that. Um,
So cute.
so it's just a lot. There's so many details that they're involved in, and we have to make sure that we're on that same level as them
Yeah.
because we need to, because if it's not right, the consumer's going to call it out right away. So I'm just super happy with the perception around the collection so far, how we launched it, and we kind of teased it, and then we did some like promo stuff for our athletes to wear on the field. We did like face masks, like You've Got a Friend of Me face masks for our NFL players. So I'm just super happy with it, especially the fact that like Good Morning America picked it up, ABC News picked it up, ESPN picked it up yesterday. It's kind of crazy because you never see this kind of coverage or excitement for something that's kids. Pixar headquarters are like a half hour away, so I arranged a meeting with them to kind of see what they had going on, and we just thought they could be a good partner for us, knowing that they do a lot of like a lot of their films and the deeper meanings and stories is all around friendship. And when we sat internally with our team, we knew that like kids are being bullied left and right. I've had stories from my nephews. I've heard stories from other people. And we were just thinking like, it's like a big problem for, like obviously nephews, but just kids in general. And it's not something that like anybody's done anything or said anything around it. So we just thought how cool it would be to do something with Pixar on it. And they had mentioned that they were celebrating the 25th anniversary of Toy Story, and we just thought obviously that the song You've Got a Friend in Me and everything around it, we just thought like it could be super awesome to do something around it with them. So we went back to Portland and like kind of brainstormed on it and flew back out there about 3-4 months later and presented the concept to them, and they just absolutely loved it. It was just funny how like immediately they're like, yes, let's do this.
I'm happy for you, especially because you're a fellow Blue Demon, so that just makes me proud.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not a lot of us in this industry. I think there's only like probably a handful, dozen or so people from DePaul.
What difference does this product like make compared to all the other products out there that there are for kids? Like the other.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like invokes like a feeling. Especially around a lot of the social media stuff, everyone's like, why can't we get this in adults? We need this in adults. We when we were working on this collection, we knew we wanted to have like some people like faces and people that believed in it and strong, like almost like role models. And that's why we picked Dame and Don for Toy Stories, because Dame has like his respect program that he does in Portland that's all about mentorship and like being a good ambassador like in your community and like just trying to teach kids to do the right things. And then Donovan Mitchell's been a huge advocate as well. Like last November, he invited like a kid that was getting bullied online to come sit courtside and like talked with him after. I was like, hey, if you need anything, like here's my phone number, call me. So we just wanted to make sure like we picked like strong athletes and ambassadors on our side that could really champion that message.
Right. That's awesome. That is so cool. So then what's like when you're creating a product, what's a usual like personal goal you set for yourself and your team each time you do something to sort of like outdo yourself or whatever it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's always like, how do we elevate?
Right.
Elevate. Like, how do we continue to push? So on the Star Wars stuff, like we did stuff that nobody's ever done before, and that was like the UV. We did like UV midsoles that were basically like under like a black light, they would glow like a lightsaber. Yeah. Unfortunately, that story never really made it to market, even though they did like kind of light up, because basically somehow that got lost in translation. And then when we sent everything to the agency to shoot it all, they weren't aware of it until after they were done. And they're like, hey, if you want us to shoot it, you're gonna have to pay us X amount more. And we were just on such a tight deadline, we couldn't have them redo that. But yeah, I think for this collection was like, our goal was like, how do we make this the best Toy Story product that's ever come out? There's been so much other Toy Story product from Adidas, from Vans, other competitors. Like, how do we make this like something that people are just gonna think's unreal? So the reason we chose basketball as a sport was because it's the #1 participation sport among kids 8 to 12. That's amongst boys and girls. So we knew that, basketball is like a very big factor in it. So that's why we did Buzz and Woody in basketball. And then we added other characters and like originals. And yeah.
What's the craziest moment, just this is more about you rather than the product, that you've had as a product manager at Adidas?
That's a good question. I'm like, what constitutes crazy? Just the challenges of working on many seasons and overlapping calendars. It's very difficult, and then things change constantly, especially when you work with an athlete. We've had like complete redesigns at very late stages, and I would say those are pretty crazy because it's like starting from zero when you're like 3/4 of the race done already.
So during this friendship collection project, were you working on other things simultaneously?
Yeah, I mean, I manage about probably close to 200 articles, like 200 styles a season.
Oh, wow.
This collection was probably only like 30. I think it's 30 total. So I'm managing like a ton of other product and projects as well. None that require more time than this, just because it is like a collaboration and it's high profile. But yeah, there's just always a lot going on, and that's just one season. But we can also be working on like 2 to 3 seasons at a time. So, you multiply that by 2 or 3, and it's a lot.
Did COVID basically affect anything about this project?
It definitely affected some things, just as far as like our samples being delayed with from the factory side. So when the factories were shut down, and even after everything reopened up, a lot of countries. So our materials come from like different countries. It's not like they're produced in China, made in China. Like they come from so many different countries, and a lot of countries had very strict like shipping things like, hey, if this comes from another country, it has to sit in a warehouse for like a week or two to make sure there's like no COVID on it, and then they can make it. So it just delayed our process a little bit, and we're lucky. I think that everything's still launching 10/1. I think the only thing that's not launching tomorrow is like the jersey, which launches like 2 weeks from now. But we're fortunate enough where it just really affected us on the side of like the development side, not the actual production side. Just on our side, like it definitely made it a bit more challenging because we didn't get samples as fast. We weren't able to review things as fast, and the pressure was just like once we got the product, they're like, hey, you got to get us feedback, and we're like, we just got it. You were supposed to send it like 3 weeks ago.
Right.
So when you see Toy Story, you hear the song "You've Got a Friend in Me," like it puts a feeling, like it makes people think about something like positive, or just the movie itself. So that was really what we were going for, and I think we've been able to accomplish that based on like all the feedback that we've gotten.